Alrighty, so for your first full week of work due for this class, let's go over your Monday item and then we'll go over the Thursday in a separate video. So where last week I had videos that were for the specific items, this week, and this will generally work going forward, I'll have one video to cover 3 topics. So we first have your lecture, right? So in this case, we have Becoming a Web Developer, Part 2, History of the Web. Let's go ahead and click into here. And actually, it's more than just a history. I should rename this a little bit. So what you're going to do here is there's a link to a YouTube playlist from one of my favorite YouTubers called Zero to Mastery. And there's 4 videos in here. So what you will do, and in this case, it's the way you're going to take notes is what we've seen before, right? You're going to go out and create a file on your GitHub, CIT82. Remember, this is a lecture, so it would go in your private repo. And again, going forward, you'll probably hear me just put this, put it in your private repo under lectures, because at this point, I hope you have it. This is the name of the file you would create. And then inside of that file, remember that's how you create new file. And then in here, and this is what I say in the instruction, use heading 1 for each video. And if you don't remember how to use Markdown cheat, you go find the cheat sheet and you can just search for Markdown cheat sheet. Okay, to find that cheat sheet so that you understand how to do an H1. And then take notes and then make sure in your notes you're using ordered or unordered lists for the concepts. Don't just use paragraph text. Okay, that's what I will look for. And then when you submit it, you're submitting your URL. So you click into the file, you go into here, right? Grab that, and that's what you will paste in the, it'll say submit the attempt. Okay, so that one, and this content I really think is helpful, even though it's a little dated. There are these concepts that don't necessarily change. The World Wide Web versus the internet. What's the difference? HTML, CSS, JavaScript. This is what we call the stack, the front end developer stack. Developer fundamentals talks about what you're doing when you're doing web development, and then a little bit of history. Okay, I think I will rename this assignment. It's not well named. All right, so I'm going to close this. And now we're going to go look at the next item. So this next item is one of those assignments where we're starting to help you get some skill, because one of the, well, maybe we've already done that, but in this assignment specifically, right, is that understanding that when you click on websites, many people think that you're just viewing a website that's out on the web, and you're not. There's actually a protocol that's used called HTTP, and that protocol is delivering all these assets to an asset. What I mean by assets is all the images, all the HTML, all the CSS, and other related like JavaScript files needed for your browser on your computer to render that web page. And a way you can peer into this is actually through DevTools. Now, DevTools are built into Chrome, but there's also developer tools built into other browsers, but I generally recommend Chrome for this class. If you use another browser, no problem. Just make sure you know how to do what I'm about to show you. So in order to do this assignment, I want you to do a little comparison. Like choose 2 similar sites, right? Like Google and Bing would be an example. I'm going to choose Fresno City College, and I'm going to use Fresno State, okay? Okay, I'll just use Fresno State. Go to their site. There it is. Okay, so now I'm on their 2 sites, okay? I guess I have to agree to their privacy. So the thing when you're looking at a web page, right, you can do is anywhere on the web page, you right click and you come down and find inspect. Okay, so again, anywhere you're at, right click inspect. And what this is going to do is going to open up this really busy looking little window. And inside of this window, there's a lot of good stuff. As a matter of fact, if you were just to roll your mouse over here, right, you can actually start to see, this is not doing a great job of it, but here, like here's the header, right? Now these are things, these tags, the way we build HTML. This is what you're going to learn in this class, right? And what we do is we have HTML and then we apply CSS to give it style. So this first one, which is your Elements tab, is the way you start to learn this. Now, we're not going to do anything more than just poke around in here and kind of take a look and see, anything that, might look familiar. And then you could go to console, and console is where when we learn some JavaScript, you'll write actually some code. Like I could do a short line like let name equal my name, right? And then I'm actually writing JavaScript code, and if I did name, right, that actually would show me it stored that in there. So again, we're going to do just a little introduction later to JavaScript. And then sources is actually the files and from where they came. Like, look at this. Fresno State not only has files coming from Fresno State, but look at all these other domains. And these are domains, if you don't know what that is, right? So fresnostate.edu is a domain, and these are all also domains. I can tell they're using jQuery, which is pretty dated at this point, but they're still using it. A lot of sites are. They're using Google Fonts. Right, so even if you don't know what these things are, you could go Google them to find out what they are. So you could talk about that, right? And by the way, what you'll do is when you find the thing you want to focus on, you take a print screen of it. So one thing is network. Network's a pretty common one also, and here's why. While I'm on the network tab, there looks like there's nothing here, but if I hit refresh, which is up here, reloading the page, I get a ton of information. Like down here on the bottom, I got 65 requests. I got 800, this is 8478 kilobytes transferred. Look at all the resources. So all the resources that got brought down to me. Here's how long it took. Here's how long it took to load. All right. So one thing I could do, in addition to everything else I do, is compare that against Fresno City. Okay. I might right click, I would inspect. Again, kind of just browsing through here. Find the thing you want to talk about about these sites. I don't care what it is, as long as you're referencing something you saw in DevTools. But since I'm using the network one, I'll reload this. And by the way, this is called the waterfall for how long it takes for that site to get there. And you can see the differences here. Look at these differences. And then you could talk about the differences. So what you want to do is once you have the thing you're going to talk about with these two sites that you've learned by looking at DevTools, then you'll take a print screen. And I showed you earlier, right, how to take a print screen, do it of both of them. And then this is the part where you're already familiar with this, because now you'll resize them to make them a little smaller. Once you have them local, you'll upload them into GitHub. I'm not going to show you that. You already know. If you need to refer back, look at last week, right? And then you'll embed them in your reply. Okay, I just kind of did mine to show it here, but that's what it would look like. And you can use the technique I showed last week for doing that. So this is almost all this work, well, not all of it. A lot of this work is stuff we've already done. But the new stuff is the part looking at DevTools and comparing two similar sites to make some general statements about how they're similar or how they're different. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for that item. All right, so that's an important one. And in this case, you don't have to do any replies. You just have to post your work on this one, because oftentimes you going forward, I will say if we're doing hands-on work, which is what this is, I don't really see and by the way, look at other people's work. Totally. You just don't have to reply to it. Okay, now let's go look at the last item in this week. So in this one, no hands-on experience. We're actually going to look at, and I'm going to close my other tabs just for a minute here because I want to. I'm going to have you look at the Stack Overflow survey. So every year, and this is for 2022, and I'll go ahead and unfortunately accept that because I want to get rid of it. But because Stack Overflow, if you don't already know, is a very popular site in that a lot of developers will, if you're a new developer, you might be posting questions. And if you're a new developer, you might be looking at other people's questions to see what a more seasoned developer would tell you. But it's basically like social networking for web developers in the sense of not necessarily posting what you're doing, but posting about the topic of either web development, coding, or machine learning, or a lot of other topics. So over here, what you want to do is go through this and just kind of take a look at it. It's going to talk about education, how do they learn to code, experience. I mean, there's just demographics, right? You can look at the technology. And here are all the things under technology. So find something that interests you. And that's what I want you to do, is find something that interests you and piques your interest. Now, you all need to do different topics. So now what do I mean by that is when you find your topic and you talk about it, right before you post, make sure you just kind of look through the students who have already posted, which, by the way, this is a good reason to post early, because then you don't have to worry about what somebody else posted. Okay, so post about that item. What item did you review? Why did it pique your interest? And tell us what you learned and why you selected it. And then each student needs to select a different topic. That's what I just said. And now you need to write 150 words, something about whatever you do, writing 150 words and do 2 replies. Now, these need to be substantive replies, and I keep saying this, but just to be clear, a substantive reply means it's not just, hey, that's cool. It needs to be something that extends the conversation of what the student posted. Okay, I hope this helps you out, and I hope you enjoy your first full week in this class. I'll talk to you soon.